How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the fourth episode of the ThunderCast. I got, of course, my co-host here. We got Tyler T-Rex Baker.
How the hell are you?
And we have Joe, no nickname, Amato.
There you go. How's it going?
We're going to cover, of course, a couple ThunderCat topics on here, including the character Jackalman and a character retrospective on him, both versions of him, as well as the last 3 issues of the He-Man ThunderCats comic, God Help Us All. Going to go ahead and give a shout-out to comicbasics.com, who are a supporter of this show, as well as to our Patreon supporter, Avis. We thank you very much for supporting us and the other fans out there. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, whatever you need to get your latest ThunderCat fix. We are literally the only ones doing this, so we kind of have the corner market on it, something I'm very happy about.
There you go.
But we're going to go ahead and we're going to delve into the character of Jackalman from the original ThunderCats cartoon, starting, of course, with the first episode, Exodus, when he first appears. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this character?
He's as essential to the mythology of ThunderCats as the Sword of Omens is to me. It's where a lot of the '80s cartoons were fortunate to have some very memorable henchmen, and to me, that's what helps flesh out a good action adventure cartoon series. Is that not only do you have to have a great villain, but you got to have great henchmen. I mean, because with great henchmen, you can do things a little bit differently, and have the henchmen as the villains of the show. I mean, much like with He-Man and G.I. Joe and Transformers and Cops, Dino Riders. Well, no, not necessarily Dino Riders, but anyway, Jackalman. Some could probably say he was, your typical villain, but I felt like Slithe, Jackalman, and Munkin and Vultureman too. Their personalities were different, but essentially the same. They felt like there was a little bit more to them. They would question things, or they would, really be very. I mean, they loved what they did, but they also felt like, is this a good idea? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm quoting like the Unholy Alliance, when Jackalman was like questioning, should we really go into this pyramid here? Like they're competent evil warriors, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that they can think. They obviously they're greedy, they're power hungry. As Jackalman has had some very shining moments throughout the series of like The Mountain and Jackalman's Rebellion, to name a couple, to show that this is a character that can carry an episode as the lead villain. Well, a more prominent part as a villain, not the head lead villain, so to speak. But as a kid, he was my favorite mutant of the core mutants. He was my favorite, and I just love the character to death. And you can't have ThunderCats without Jackalman. To me, he's that important.
That sounds pretty good. How about you, Joe? Any thoughts on the Jackal mutant?
Yeah, well, mine definitely won't be in depth as Tyler's. I mean, his was really in depth. But for me, I always remember when I was watching him as a kid, his voice and something about, like, let's say the design of his face. I felt like I always got a vibe of, there was a show or a movie, and the thing is, I can't even remember if when this movie came out. Do you remember The Dark Crystal?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also remember Legend. Do you remember Legend? I think Legend.
Yeah, with Darkness.
Okay, yeah, you remember Darkness. Yeah, Lord of Darkness or whatever. Now, did Legend come out after ThunderCats?
Yeah.
Or was it around?
Oh, no, wait, no. Legend came out in 85. The same year as ThunderCats, I believe.
Okay,
Or maybe Legend came out in 86, but relatively close together.
Okay, because, I mean, I guess the vibe I'm getting at is, for whatever reason, I had like this connection as a kid, whether it was catching them on reruns or not. But in Legend, there was this one sidekick creature. The one, I don't know if his name was Blixt or whatever, we talked about, the blackest hitch. And he had this nasty little voice. And I just remember Jackalman reminded me of him. Whatever weird connection that was. But, Jack, his voice, I'm sure, Thomas, you could do his voice probably perfectly. But there's something about his voice and shrill that kind of scared me more than all the other mutants. Slithe, I know he was like, bigger and I guess you could say more intimidating. And then you had Munkin that, seemed really brutal, at least appearance-wise. But Vulture Man never really, I don't know, I just never got much out of Vulture Man. But when it came to Jackalman, he was to me the scariest mutant, just because I had these connections with some of those movies. And like I said, whatever the time frame was or span or how it was, there was a connection I had between them two. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all. If you remember,
There is no similarities between Blix and
well,
Jackalman
no,
whatsoever. Not voice, not visually.
well, that's the thing. See, that's
You know,
what
Blix is voiced by a woman. Jackalman's voiced by a man. Where are you getting this?
Well, in fairness, a lot
was
of people connect, Mum Rata Skeletor, and their similarities are kind of small to begin with. So
yeah, because I guess that's it. The thing is, sure, maybe there's no similarities as now as you can look back at an adult, but I love the
Hey,
thing.
Joe, what a gullible.
Exactly, but I like that you can always have a weird memory. And I don't know what made that memory when I was a kid, but for some reason as a kid, this is a memory that I had of them. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's because just considering him being kind of one of these sidekick characters that was just a nasty little shrilled voice. They're, like you said, I guess they're different now as you look as an adult, but I had this goofy connection. I had to share a memory. It was just a weird childhood memory that I don't know why I had connected them to, but that's what I did.
well, just for the sake of information, in the United States, Legend of Darkness came out in 1986. In the UK, it hit in 1985, but that was in December, whereas ThunderCats premiered January 23rd, 1985.
Okay.
So almost a year ahead of at least the original UK release date.
Okay. Well, thanks for at least finding the
So
date.
clearly, Ridley Scott was watching the first season of ThunderCats. He's like, well, that's what we got to do. We got to get Blix to sound just like this wolf jackal character. That's all we got to do, right?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
his facial features, just some of the designs. I don't know. I
Do
like
you
the
remember what
memories.
Blix looked like?
Oh yeah, Blix was. Oh no, Blix wasn't he green? I think Blix was green, right? I think
He was green, but
Blonde.
had a pointy little nose. He was short. I'm picturing him as clear as day, and then I'm thinking,
Oh, I know.
like this is not even apples and oranges here. This is like a pineapple on a toilet seat.
I know. That's why I have no clue. It's just when
This
immediately.
is all just going to lead to some childhood story of how Joe got the attorney at playset. That's what's really going to come.
It's like
down.
it's all gonna. Yes. No,
It's
that's
all
what I
going to
love
come back
about
to the attorney at playset.
Okay. First of all, full disclosure for me, I have never seen Legend of Darkness.
Well, it was just Legend, right? Wasn't it just Legend?
What the villain of the movie is Lord of Darkness,
Lord.
but that's when we say darkness. Yeah,
Now,
which is the devil.
I have seen like a video clip that took audio from the movie and put it on like a talking loaf of bread that was hilarious, but I've never seen the movie itself.
Wait, look, this ThunderCat has become like a topic of like inanimate objects and things that look nothing alike, don't resemble each other, but somehow like. I get it. They're all connected here.
Well, actually, I went ahead, since I've never seen the movie, and I looked up the character you guys are talking about while you were, doing your Joe and Tyler thing, and I think I know why he believed as a child that there's similarities, and that would be because of Blix's ears.
Because it's been that's what I meant. It has been so long, but there was something that triggered that memory. And I haven't thought of that since my childhood. It was just weird, right? When you brought up Jackalman and you were talking about discussing and thoughts about it, that immediately came into my head. I would love to know what made that memory, what created, but there you go. So that's my thought of them either way.
Well, again, based on what I see of Blix and, of course, my knowledge of Jackalman, it's probably the ears themselves.
Maybe that was it.
And because kids are, their minds are still developing and they see patterns sometimes that aren't there, or the mind fills in that blank, that could very well be why you thought that they were somewhat connected, or your connection of fear is what put those two together. Now, granted, I'm no child psychologist or any psychologist at all, but that's just
I expect Thomas to be posting like inkblot, pictures like on as we're recording here for Joe to sit there and interpret.
Oh Lord, no, we're never going to do that.
Well, at least you kind of helped out. I didn't want to sound like a complete lunatic, but there was just some reason. So there.
All right. So Jackalman was featured in 57 episodes of ThunderCats. And, of course, he lasted all the way until the Return to Thundera arc, where, he was swept away onto the circus train because of reasons. And the direction for his voice was, of course, to sound more growly, more dog-like. Of course, voiced by Larry Kinney. So I said in the last podcast, I'll say again, one of the most amusing things to me about the Mountain was that 90% of the episode was Larry Kinney talking to himself.
Yeah.
Because he did the voice, of course.
It was some of the best stuff about the episode because, of the battle between Lino and Jackalman in that episode. So it's a testament to him because, the meat of that episode, of course, you get the rest of the group doing their thing, which is great. But some of the best moments of that episode, it's all Larry Kinney. And there's one part in that episode, too, where Lino's so pissed off about the idea of helping out Jackalman. I swear it sounds like they really wanted to say, "Oh, hell." Instead of "oh, heck." But
yeah, it was a fantastic episode.
And the Jackalman's laugh is probably the most maniacal of the series. I mean, it could be ranked up there with Mom Ra's laugh. He's got just such a laugh of malice. Even if he's just agreeing with something or he likes the idea of something, it's just like that is one evil son of a bitch.
Yeah, almost makes you wish that they had made him a hyena instead, huh?
I always thought he was kind of like a wolf man kind of character as a kid because I'm like, what? I didn't know what a jackal man would be. And he looks kind of like a, kind of like wolf-like or some sort of dog kind of character. I don't know. He's such a. He looks like something you're familiar with, but when you break it down, like there's, Munkin's obviously an ape, and Slythe is a lizard. Vultureman's a vulture. Like, what is Jackalman? But I'm sure that might be a logical answer for that too. But he just has such a great look, and I always thought the three core mutants too just had such perfect weapons. Jackalman's either got the long axe or that big club like the action figure came with.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like an extension of like these are some brutal guys. Like they're intelligent, but they're very what's the word to describe? They're very aggressive. They come up. I mean, you just feel like if you're in a fight with them, they're very aggressive. Like they're not fighting skillfully. They're fighting with a lot of aggression and out of control, tactics.
Savagery.
Savage. There you go. Savage. Very, very savage.
Oh, absolutely. But I will always find juxtaposed with the mutants is so funny is, they have, of course, the ability to travel through space. They have teleportation devices. They use a club and an axe. I will never get over that. That just amuses me beyond anything else I could think of because it's just so bizarre that they have that comparison. But
I guess they understand. We need to use technology, to get us to get means to an end here. But when it comes to fighting, it's like nothing's better than just bashing somebody's head in with a big blunt club or a long, axe of some kind.
Now, as far as you talking about, you wouldn't know what a Jackalman was because you weren't aware of what a jackal really did or was. If it makes you feel any better, Tyler, Hugh Jackman, the guy who does Wolverine in the movies, had no idea that a Wolverine was a real animal.
Well, that's quite well. I guess it's from I will give him that. Okay, because it's from Australia. I don't know if Wolverines are native to the continent of Australia, but
oh no, they have far worse animals in Australia.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons I would never ever want to go to Australia is because of that. But I just I will give him a. But then again, too, that there's a lot of animals that I like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine too much too, but at least that makes me feel a little bit better.
But I've always seen Jackalman as sort of like the Starscream of the group, but nowhere near as linguistically gifted.
I don't know. Where Starscream was always saying something to bust Megatron's balls and always hinting at mutiny. I guess if you had to make a comparison, Jackalman would be the Starscream of the group, but I feel like it's not as a direct translation.
Oh no, not complete, not complete at all. Because
I was really Jackalman. That was what was so cool about this group is that they really essentially were a team.
Mm-hmm.
That they of course you got Jackalman's rebellion, and they even called it. It's like this is mutiny. We're a team, Jackalman. We're not supposed to be fighting. Like that was what was so cool about the mutants is that they appreciate. Look, we work together here. We're not loners here. As much as they have high ambitions and they want to rule and plunder and destroy, they do it as a team. They realize they need each other. And I like that dynamic about this group of villains here, because most villains are all out for themselves, but this is a group of villains that they're a close they're a tight group.
Yeah, as opposed to, in comparison, we have the Lunatics in later seasons who could be a far more vicious counter to the ThunderCats, but none of them can work together.
Yeah, I think their ambitions are certainly a lot more higher. And, well, because, they're quite powerful villains in their own. So they certainly feel like, I can do this without everybody else. Whereas the mutants, they're just savages. And smart savages. Given how they're depicted in certain episodes, to me they are all they're all smart.
Yeah,
they've all had high moments of intellect and stuff like that. So, I like that. I like a group of bad guys that stick together like that.
Now there is one scene with Jackalman. He doesn't have a single speaking role in this scene, but it kills me every time I see it. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the episode right off the top of my head, which you'll probably pick up when I mention it. But the mutants are eating. And Sly starts just complaining about the quality of the food, and he makes a very bold statement of, this is so horrible, a jackal wouldn't even eat it. In the background, Jackalman's just woofing it down without even a care in the world. And that scene kills me every time I see it for two reasons. Number one, there's the whole Jackalman is literally a jackal man. He's just devouring it without a question. And Sly also goes on to say, what we need here is a woman's touch. And Monkey's response under his breath was great. He's called him a chauvinistic reptile. just kills me every time I see it.
That scene you're describing sounds very familiar, but I can't remember which one that it is off the top of my head.
I know it involved the Warrior Maidens, because that was Monkey's brilliant idea, or command rather, from Sly. You go get us a woman who will fix all this, and it was just so absurd, but I love that scene.
That would make a great sitcom. It's like a Thursday night primetime NBC show of the three mutants and their warrior handmaiden. The struggles of day-to-day life. Next thing you know, Monkey's got a thing for her, but Jackalman's the one sleeping with her. You get this whole love triangle thing here, it'd be great.
These are not things we need to speak into the ether. These are not, because we a few years even before the new ThunderCats reboot.
I would pay $4.20 a month for a comic book based on the mutants with Vulture Man living with a handmaiden.
Okay, comic I'd be cool with.
Yeah.
But we've had some weirder ideas almost come to fruition, like the ThunderCats being a rock band that I don't ever want to see resurface.
No, I'm never for people making things that take this stuff completely out of what they're supposed to be, because they think it's cute and funny, man. I'll sell backpacks at Hot Topic with these images on it. It'd be great.
I actually remember when the only place I could find ThunderCats merchandise was a Hot Topic.
Well, back then, at least they were selling, quality ThunderCat stuff and quality He-Man stuff. Now it's like, come at me, bro. Who's your daddy? And, got powers, just stupid nonsense with some corporate tycoon's jerk-off son writing, slogans for T-shirts and characters that don't need anything. They don't need explanations. They don't need jokes.
True.
Pisses me off.
True. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to segue into a short discussion on the 2011 Jackalman, who, Tyler, you probably long checked out of the series well before he was even established.
When I saw that him and Monkey were going to be featured, I remember that they would release clips for the upcoming episode, and that was one of the clips. And when I heard their voices, I thought, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. There's nothing that's going to draw me back. It's like I was intrigued that they finally brought them in. They looked good visually, but when you have them speaking like Shakespearean thespians, I just nope, I'm out. Forget it. Unsalvageable.
I think that is one of the issues that I have, of course, is you take a character from his basic concept and you completely change it. You change the entire dynamic of the show itself, as well as the individual influence that character has. So instead of being a fairly cowardly, devious, I'm going to smack you while your back's turned type of villain, what they did with Jackalman is they made him more of I don't want to say Hannibal Lecter because that's more of what they did with Monkian, but what they did with Jackalman, other of course calling him Kanar because I guess it was the hip thing to not call something man as a suffix for whatever reason. But they made him almost Joker-esque, but Joker light. And it just did not work for the character. If you want somebody who has, voices in his head and he does terrible things, a character like Jackalman's not going to be able to do that right. Now, while I am somewhat amused that it was a bit of a happy accident that the way his muzzle looked was similar to Cesar Romero's facial hair, as well as with the whole Joker thing that he had going, I did find that amusing, but that was more of a happy accident. And I can't really say I cared too deeply for the 2011 version of Jackalman. It was just too much of a variation from what the norm for that character is.
Well, I feel like all the villains too. Rotaro also. I felt like the person in charge of the voice directing and the voice acting, I just felt like was not giving these people a lot of great direction. Or I guess maybe who knows? I have no idea who was making the decisions as to like why the villains don't sound like a villain. There's. I know it's always going to be hard to top, what was done in the original series. I mean, at that time, I felt like those guys probably didn't have the slightest idea of the impact and impression that those voices would have on us. But you at least feel like, at least like what Brian Dobson did with Skeletor in the 2000X reboot of He-Man. He's in the same vein as Alan Oppenheimer's Skeletor, so you can appreciate because it sounded great because he's doing his interpretation of that kind of take on Skeletor. And I felt like they should have done that with Rotaro, Jackalman, Monkian. I didn't think Slide was very good. Mom Ra was okay. But
yeah, you're never going to replace Earl Hammond. I mean, you're not.
No, and it's a hard act to follow. But I feel like these villains have got to be, well, something similar. I mean, that's why they're here. If you're gonna, you might as well say Jackalman's name is Carl, and just something is
oh my
silly.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The name Carl automatically for me brings up Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So now
I thought you were going to say the dad from Family Matters.
No. It makes it even kind of worse for me because now I'm picturing the Kanar version talking like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and that just kills me
That was the landlord of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, wasn't it?
He was their next door neighbor. They always terrorized.
I thought he was their landlord. Was he just their neighbor?
No, that was Marcula that was the landlord.
All right, is Carl the guy with like the wife beater, like the
yes.
fat dude? Okay. Because my brother watched that show religiously, and he used to get me to watch clips of it and stuff like that, and just laugh his head off about it. But
hey, Lion, though, I'm gonna need that sword from you. My boss wants it, and he's gonna get pissed if he ain't got it.
Yeah, that's him.
But the surprising thing that is, of course, surprising in an unfortunate matter is the voice director for the 2011 ThunderCats was actually Andrea Romano.
That's the only name that comes to mind, and I hate that because she's always done such a great job with the Batman animated series and a lot of the Batman animated stuff in general. But clearly she dropped the ball on this one.
Well, unfortunately, with ThunderCats, because it's to the modern era of animation, it's still a somewhat obscure thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people, I mean, even if you look at redesigns on fan art or fan fiction, there's a lot of people who like the concepts of ThunderCats, but they don't like ThunderCats. They always want to take it and make it dark and edgy, or they want to take it and make it other far worse things, but you
can make it dark, you can make it edgy, but there's ways of doing it like the Dark Knight Rises. No, that ain't fun, that ain't cool, it sucks. But there are He-Man could be done this way, ThunderCats, G.I. Joe, they all can be, but you got to have the combination of good voice acting, quality stories, not bad dialogue and action sequences that get you excited, that raise the hairs on the back of your neck because the music and the action sequences are so exciting. It's all got to work together as one. It can't be, oh, this is great, but that doesn't work. Oh, that looks good, but that doesn't.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so important for everything to work. And ThunderCats, the reboot looked good. It's the voice acting and the stories. It just falls apart after that. We all know why.
You got any thoughts on this, Joe?
I do not, because I didn't watch past the episode for the new series. I
Song
think
of
the
the
last.
Metalars.
Yeah, there you go, the one with Emmerich, or was his name, Emmerich, or whatever that.
Emmerich.
Okay, yeah, that was the last episode I watched, and then I guess I never made it to Jackalman because I just couldn't hang in there.
Well, that's all right. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take just a short break, and we're going to pick up, and we're going to talk about the last 3 issues of the comic.
Hey.
Looks like 86% control loss in left rudder circuit.
Tsunami will return in a moment with the ThunderCats.
And we talk them in safely. The book says no. I never read that book. ThunderCats!
But let's go ahead and head back to the podcast now that we've kind of chewed the fat a little bit. We're going to go ahead now and go into the last 3 issues of the comic, and this is where I guess Joe and I will discuss things, and Tyler starts grinding the axe in the background that he is preparing for the destruction of everybody involved in this book.
Yeah, to chop down the door of the 2 guys that wrote this. I don't even remember their names anymore. I'm so far removed from this, and I have not been briefed on the last issue other than the spoiler page that was put up, which just really makes me think that these guys really should be, living on the streets, eating out of a bucket.
Well, firstly, I'm going to say that, Tyler, when you do go down to do this, of course, we're all speaking facetiously because the last thing I need is somebody knocking on my door wanting to know why we made threats to people. But if you do ever facetiously decide to go down there and break down their doors, the key, Tyler, is to use your massive muscles to break the door and then brandish the axe. Don't use the axe on the door. No, you got to build up tension. We're gonna go.
I agree with that attack plan.
But we're going to go into issue 4, of course. We're going to blitz through these. Issue 4 had the epic showdown. Everybody had allegedly been waiting 31 years for between Lion-O and He-Man.
And a dead He-Man.
And a zombie man. But, Joe, what are your initial thoughts on this issue?
This was one where
this was so good. Joe has had so much time for this crap to settle in that he's just accepted that it's not going to get any better. Yeah. Joe's tone within those couple of words, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, Joe is not going to try to be nice anymore,
Good.
I can't help it. I mean, I always tried to find some enlightening thing, but this time, no.
There is no hope, no light.
There's none. I mean, there's just everything that is just so confusing because it's been a while since I read issue 4. I mean, some of just the highlights of garbage were just when they went to Mumra's Black Pyramid because they apparently figured, hey, Lion-O's got a plan. He's going to take Prince Adam's body to the Black Pyramid. And since it's always revived Mumra, that maybe it'll work for Prince Adam to bring him back. And he takes Cringer with him because Cringer apparently has not left Adam's side the whole time, which, that's all for a reason, coincidentally. But
that Joe capitalized on.
Well, yes, and I did. There you go. Okay.
Free market, baby. Free market.
I'll get right into it. Yeah, okay.
Joe's dressed up like the Monopoly guy here.
Yeah. So,
probably Uncle Scrooge more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Well, while some of the mutants and evil warriors are apparently now celebrating looting Mumra's treasure room or something, Cringer's going to go see what goes on while Lion-O stays by the sarcophagus to see what happens if He-Man comes. But Cringer's afraid to go there because he can't do anything in his Cringer mode. So that's when, he's got a hero in him or something. So Lion-O uses the Sword of Omens on him to see if something can happen. Which then you see in a later panel that while they're looting the gold, here comes like an image they're all looking up and bam, there's Cringer as now what I've called Thunderian Battle Cat Man. So he's more humanoid now, humanoid feline warrior with his mask and the big ThunderCat symbol on his chest. And when I seen that, I said, okay, this whole issue sucks, but okay, I like this. I've made Battle Cat Man in 2 different forms before for a custom. I'll make that. And I turned around and in 5 days made the quickest custom in history, and I really did a damn good job. I'm not sitting there I'm not trying to promote my custom, but it came out good. But so yeah, he's fighting and take care and all of them. And then yes, you hear slowly then back, or very faintly, I'm sorry, in the background when they're back with Lion on the sarcophagus. I think, Grayskull or something. And then boom, I have the power. And here comes what Tyler said. The zombie He-Man. Now he's full of evil and he can't be controlled. And Lion-O's having a hell of a time trying to stop He-Man. So he does something which, and this is where, of course, I want Thomas to jump in, but he calls upon the power beyond power, which makes him just as strong as He-Man. And I said, for all the He-Man fans out there that have been supporting this book and loving it and saying, I love everything that's going on. Well, it's funny. This is the one time where they were upset now, because now they said, well, wait a second, Lion-O can't be as strong as He-Man. I'm like, no, you guys can't go back now. You've been supporting it the whole time, and you've been saying it's its own continuity and it's its own story, a standalone story. Accept it and love it. I was like, oh, but now you have an issue? Because now you just they created a piece of history. So now anytime there's a battle, who could win between Lion-O and He-Man? You know what? Because of you guys loving and supporting everything that they were throwing at us, now you could say Lion-O can take He-Man because he's just as strong as him. So I'll stop right there. I'll let go ahead, Thomas. You go flying with it. But
firstly, Lion-O's not a complete moron, despite how this book's writing him. So the idea of, let me take this dead body to a place that is just filled with evil, filled with the demonic, and we're going to pretend for a moment that it's his sarcophagus that recharges his power and gives him immortality instead of the ancient spirits themselves, as previously established. The ThunderCats have something that can heal wounds. They have ways of getting around this in their own fiction, such as the Totem of Dara and other things, which, since this book doesn't seem to care about continuity, they could have just pulled up out of nowhere. And instead, they go for the objectively dumbest thing they possibly could have done. The only thing they could have done that would have been even worse is sending him to New Genesis.
I know what I want to ask you. One other quick thing. Again, I could be wrong, but I was wondering, how is that sarcophagus even working and being charged? Because the ancient spirits of evil are not there. They're gone. So is it even possible that they could have charged? Oh, okay.
No, it is not.
Exactly. So I knew that didn't make sense. So I thought the other thing, I was like, okay, if they're such big fans of ThunderCats and have all this knowledge, because remember, people have told us, oh, Joe, no, they didn't just watch a couple episodes. They watched the whole series. Like,
who is saying that to you, Joe?
Mostly people on He-Man.org.
Yeah, the ones that are trying to rip me to pieces all the time. Oh, they know why they're doing this. Oh, you'll find out. I'm sure they'll say why Jaga can be seen by all the ThunderCats, which, we'll get to that crap later. But here's the thing. Okay, if you wanted to go to a place to, like you said, beyond the objects or any of the things that they could use to heal them, why wouldn't you just take them to maybe the White Pyramid with Mum Rana? Because at least she's alive and maybe she could bring him back to life and it'd be with goodness. But okay, if you do it that way, you can't get this moronic fight that we got. Because remember, all this stupid stuff leads to stupid stuff. So, that's just, am I wrong? It is
Stupidception.
Exactly. So that's what it was. It was so we can get this gigantic, epic battle. And oh yeah, what a great battle. Like you said, we've been waiting over 30 years for something like this. And not really for them ever to fight. We probably always want to see them team up. But even if they were to fight, do you think this is what we were going to get back then? And again, it's not like holding on to stuff from childhood. No, it's just, if you're going to write something, write it interesting. Don't just write it where it doesn't make sense. I'm like, okay, I don't even understand what's going on. It's like, okay, he's back now, but now that he's He-Man, still, what's going to happen if he turned back to Adam? Is he going to go back to where he had that wound earlier and die? And I don't know. My head was just, it literally almost just blew up from all the insanity of how horrible this is.
Well, your question will never be answered.
No, it won't. And I'm not going to sit there and how every time I say, I liked at least the art in this. People know that, sure. That's a no-brainer. That's said for every. Yeah, I'm not going to say it no more. It's said for every issue. But when it comes to the story, it's just a terrible story, and it shows because each month the sales drop. Each month for this issue. For this series, because it's garbage.
Well,
but go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm going to be a little bit meaner than you. Surprise, surprise. But I'm not even going to say the art's good at this point. And here's why. I've had a consistent issue with the art that I haven't brought up for other reasons, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. There's no line differentials in the man's line art, meaning that if you were to take color completely out of it, you'd have a very hard time telling foreground to background and character to background, because he doesn't have much in the way of line variation as far as thickness of line. And that's with just the black and white art that you would see before the coloring. The coloring itself is also a major issue, because they're trying to go for a sort of colored pencil look on this book, and it does not lend itself very well in terms of brighter colors to William Freddie Jr.'s work. It doesn't. It worked well in his Batman Turtles book because they were all darker colors, but it doesn't work in a brighter shade like they're going with the He-Man ThunderCat book. And here's something I'm going to go ahead and put out there. If you take a close look at any of the art in this book, you will notice that on several instances, you have the characters surrounded not by some thick black line in normal art, but they're surrounded by an outline of white. And anytime you have to do that in art, just basic art, you have failed. And if you were to pull out one of the comics right now, Joe, if you have it on mobile or if you have it on hand.
I do. I see what you mean with the white line. I guess, what's funny is because, I've never really looked that deeply into all the stuff you're saying, but I do see the white lines around it. I never thought about it, and I guess I never paid attention until you just brought up that white line around it.
The white line is there to try to make sure the characters pop out of the background into the foreground. And the moment you have to do that for this type of book, for this type of thing, you've failed.
Okay, I never seen. I mean, like I said, I guess I never looked into it, but I do see what you mean. I mean, like I said, it's the only highlight of the entire series for me is this art. But I mean, you have more of an artistic eye, I guess, to understand what like you said, you're critiquing. It's still it's a saving grace for me because if I didn't, I'll admit, if I didn't have this art, and it was something that was really bad, like some of those earlier He-Man things that DC was putting out, whatever, a couple years ago. Yeah, all that stuff. There was some of those that, the art was so bad, I was like, I can't look at this, and I sure as hell can't read it. I mean, the story. So that makes it double crap. But, I mean, I can understand, like I said, I mean, if that's something that you're seeing and noticing, I can understand what you're saying, but I still, it's the only thing that kept me coming back. Plus, it's something to then talk about. But it just, this whole series got worse because after issue 4, I can't even. What's weird is, like I said, I can't remember how issue 4 ended. But then I know at least 5 a little more. But I don't have 4 by me.
Issue 4 ended with them leaving the Black Pyramid and heading back to Eternia, where the ancient spirits of evil are ravishing the land and heading towards Grayskull. And
there you go.
The dumbest sequence of combats that I've ever seen have shown in this book.
Yeah.
And
do you want to go ahead?
One of the things I'm going to go ahead and pull out now, because I know you're both like major He-Man fans, more so than even I. At what point did Man-at-Arms ever get the authority to tell Zodak what to do?
Oh, now you're talking about. Wait, are we in issue 5 now? Is that what we're going to do?
We're heading to issue 5.
Okay. Well, that's something I brought up too. Because before we even get to that, we're going to talk about He-Man fans and things that are nonsense. Of course, you got every single Masters of the Universe, and I know Tyler doesn't like that, but all the heroic warriors.
There you go.
There you go. They're all going after the ancient spirits of evil and all the vehicles, and then all of the inconsistencies of nonsense, which is, and I'm going to say it again, Bianatops. Okay, I can understand when you're being clever, like I said, putting Easter eggs into something to be fun. But Bianatops he's back from Preternia. He doesn't belong in our time. That's like seeing Hero right now, or Tyler's favorite, King Grayskull, for whatever reason, fighting alongside with them right now in this battle. Bianatops does not belong there. And then another thing for the He-Man fans, like I said, they put in Rotar, one of the energy Zoids. Because there's Rotar and Twistoid. That's who we grew up with. And both of the gimmicks of these that came from a gyro machine, all of it represents spinning. Their names represent spinning. Their look, their gimmick, the thing that created them represents spinning. But because they're using all these classics figures as reference, they put in Rotar with those genius legs that everybody thought, hey, was a great idea because it displays well with the other figures. Well, then it led to this stupidity because we should have had Rotar. If Rotar would have ever come back and he would be in a comic of Masters, you'd think his ass is going to be spinning into battle with his weapons. No, we got him running. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, let me tell you something. If Rotar had legs at any point, which he never did in the vintage mini comics, and we never knew what kind of being he was, I told Tyler he could have been a centaur, he could have been a half man, half fish character. We don't know. But the thing is, I guarantee you he wouldn't have had that stupid get up. Because remember, he has an apparatus around his face. He has like a cybernetic chest armor. That's probably what helped him live too after they, fixed him and they gave him a spinning bottom. So he sure wouldn't have looked like this if he had legs, but I'm not going to bring up that kind of logic. And then, yes, I did say oh, so Zodak's in here, and they're making him like a normal warrior, huh? When has Zodak been just like a regular soldier? Okay, guys, charge into battle. It's like, no. Do you know who Zodak is? Zodak shouldn't even been written into that as that character. They should have put another character in, or if Zodak was written, he should have been something other than just a normal soldier.
Yeah, why is Kodak the one narrating the story?
That's
You
a
know,
good
he's
question.
the cosmic enforcer. He's the one observing everything that's going on the planet. Instead, no, all the readers are treated to, ooh, this wonderful surprise that goes nowhere. It's like a, you know, it's like a Michael Bay movie. It's all, oh, what is this? What is it? Oh, it goes nowhere. It means nothing. It's all pointless. It's frivolous.
Stupid.
I don't know who you just insulted with. I don't know if you insulted Michael Bay or this comic. I don't know which one's taking the worst insult in that case.
Well, this is just yeah.
Well, they both need to be put in jail.
Oh man, no, there's worse out there. Oh God, I could go on, but that doesn't excuse this in any way, shape, or form. So we have inconsistencies on the He-Man side, and we certainly have inconsistencies on the ThunderCat side. Like Panthro's not supposed to be a prick, neither is Chitara or Tigra.
Yeah, exactly.
They are all considered this within the context of this book. They're all just jerks because reasons, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one scene here that if it was played off better would have been great, but they chose not to play it off well because, again, why write good when you can write crap and get paid the same? But the two of the ancient spirits of evil, they find out that, they have a weak spot on their chest where the golden disc of knowledge are, because apparently the ancient spirits of evil are now relegated to the ability and power of the season 2 Power Rangers putties, to where you hit them in the chest, they explode. But
that was pretty cool in the video games.
Yes, it was. Those were darn good games. But moving on, they had Snarf accidentally, mind you, grow into a giant and accidentally smack these two ancient spirits on their chest to make them explode.
Yeah, and also, let's bring up that fantastic way of how this happened. Because Orko kept trying to use his magic to shrink the ancient spirits of evil, and it was always like, being deflected. One time shrunk Wily Kit and Wily Cat's heads, and then one time when it bounced and did something, it hit it hit Snarf, and instead of smaller, it made him gigantic. But yeah, that did we even do that part? And I can't even remember what part it happened, but the whole thing with him calling, where Orko calls Man-at-Arms Duncan when he's doing one of his mishaps and screw-ups.
Yeah.
And like I said, I told Tyler, I said, I might be wrong, but I don't think in the history of Masters of the Universe I've ever heard Orko call Man-at-Arms Duncan. He calls him Man-at-Arms. And so Tyler, he confirmed. He's like, nope, I don't ever remember Orko calling him Duncan. I said, oh, because that's why we got this great dialogue it led up to where then you hear Man-at-Arms, telling Panthro and Tigra, I think, to help lift up one of these damn items they're doing. And Panthro says, so Duncan's your name, eh? And then that's where Man-at-Arms says, just get the bloody cannon in position. We can get all chummy later. It's like, oh, that was worth it. It was worth this gigantic buildup of him dropping his name so we could hear that stupid nonsense.
Oh, absolutely, because the writing is just so fantastic. Like the writers of Batman the Animated Series should take a page out of these guys' books and burn it into the ground. But the issue, of course, ends with Mumra and Skeletor combining to become the most retarded thing I've ever seen in this book, which is saying something. He becomes Mumator with the most ridiculous-looking staff I've ever seen, and ridiculous-looking everything.
Yeah,
he looks like something. He looks like something I'd see on DeviantArt at 3 a.m. from just clicking next.
It's bad. It's bad. It's corny. Bad look, corny name. To have them now, with this conflict with each other. But then, when we get to issue 6, thank God. I mean, thank God we're on issue 6, so this crap can finally be over. That's when He-Man and Lion-O are back. But now they're seeing all the warriors they look defeated. They're laying in front of Castle Grayskull, and King Randor is barely alive.
They're all barely alive because we have the fake tension.
Yeah, and then, oh man, you know what? It's strange. I said this issue, the other issues just had bad, like I said, the dialogue was terrible. The story was terrible. This one it seemed and it felt like they just rushed it to me And that's saying something because everything else was crap. But it's like they're going into Castle Grayskull, and He-Man is leading Lion-O through Castle Grayskull. And he's like, you watch out because you might lose your way. And then I feel like I was in one of the movies of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the one with Jacob, when Alice has Jacob. And in the dreams, the stairs are upside down, sideways, this way, that way. I'm like, why is Castle Grayskull now like a maze? I'm like, what are we even doing?
They must have watched Labyrinth when they were writing this particular,
Oh, Tyler, like I said, you ain't missing nothing. But yeah, because now they were going to go to a spot that not even He-Man has been to, where there was this, the secrets of Castle Grayskull, and him and Lion are going to face together. And that's when they do encounter Mama Tor and Jesus and the Sorceress is on the ground. But the dialogue was just, to me, so clumsy, rushed, confusing. I don't even know. Like I said, I'm like, well, okay, am I supposed to read here and here and that? Because it's always the back and forth dialogue. You're hearing Mama talk, and once in a while, a Skeletor, but he's showing his power. He has this damn orb. Go ahead, Thomas.
There's a better way to put that.
Just go.
And that's this. You don't know what the mood for the issue was. You don't know what they were going for. And the same issue that I had, unfortunately, with the new King Kong film is I can't tell if they're trying to be really serious or if they're trying to be self-aware and joking, because you have hints of both, and contextually they make no sense. Like we have to stop Mama Tor before he destroys Eternia, but at the same time, He-Man's literally making fourth wall-breaking comments about how these interdimensional team-ups are hard on his jaw.
Oh.
And then, of course, because the writer can't have his own original idea, we see a possible reality, because they're hopping through the multiverse right now, or the possible realities, and it all depends on who's holding the orb on what you get. And in one reality, you see He-Man, supposedly raised on Earth, and he's a sort of Superman figure who literally works at the Daily Planet with Lois Lane, Jimmy, all these characters. And you see him, opening his shirt, Clark Kent style. You see, this really goofy version of He-Man's Iron Cross. And thankfully,
isn't it in the Superman's
style? Yes.
Style, yeah, but what the this is what I didn't like. It's like, okay, are these multiverses? Are they supposed to be from things they envisioned could have happened? Because they tried to defend that. Because yes, you do see them, and like you said, it's basically the version of the Daily Planet. And then you see Adam wearing the glasses, and it's a secret identity. But then they have Jimmy Olsen, they have Lois Lane, and then she's of course referring to him as Eterniaville instead of Smallville. That's
the cringiest doggone thing.
It's stupid, and they're calling him by his last name, because he's Adam Grayskull. So you have called Grayskull, and by last name in one part, but. I always wonder, I was like, okay, wait, what are you trying to say, though? Is this supposed to be a real alternate multiverse of what could have happened? Or was this from his thoughts? Because here's the thing. It's how could he have ever been on Earth if this was supposed to be a real multiverse? That's what
again, that's what I'm talking about, the tone. You can't tell what tone they're going for.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's what I meant. This is just...
There is one thing that actually made me laugh in the book, though. When they both put their hands on the orb, since unfortunately, or fortunately rather, he's a blessed man, Tyler hasn't seen it. When they're both holding the orb, they get transported to a multiverse that combines Third Earth and Eternia. So you have Panthroid arms and Sheila, and you also have Jagares, a mixture of Jaga and the Sorceress, and she's super jacked. It is hilarious. I died when I saw that.
Exactly. Oh, it was, the whole thing was nuts. Immediately, I know, Tyler's going to say, oh, God, Joe, are you having thoughts? Because, everything.
Please don't. Oh, God, no.
I'm seeing Chitila. Like you said, I'm seeing Panthroid arms. You're even seeing Snarfo. It's Orko and Snarfy. Snarfo. I was like, oh, my God. I know Tyler was like, what in the hell? So, yeah, they see the combination of both. Sure, it's a laughable moment. But like you said, it's so out there. You don't know what's going on, Castle Catskull instead of Castle Grayskull. It's just so confusing. It's trying to be. I almost thought it was trying to be too funny, but it still wasn't really making sense, because when Lion-O, when he finally gets hold of the orb and sees his vision, he's seeing of like, when they were eventually getting on the ship to leave before, a thunder exploded. So that is supposed to be actual memory. So
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
I
okay,
love that. I love that they couldn't even get Jaga's helmet and cape color right on that.
oh, it was all purple. Yeah, I was like, why is this all purple? Dark. I mean, like a kind of a lighter purple. Either way, it's like, yeah.
Because doing
Yeah.
5 seconds of research is too hard for these morons.
No, I mean, yes. So, I mean, you're right. And it felt like everything was just so rushed of them trying to be funny, of making these crazy multiverses and these quick flashes of battle. It's like they just jumbled it all together, just a rush. Let's get this crap over. Because maybe they even knew it was a hot mess. So eventually, yeah, you have the sorceress and...
No, they did. They didn't realize that. If that were the case, they would not be doing what you're telling me that they did in this book right now.
Tyler, man.
Oh,
If they thought the book was absolutely true, I feel like that we would not be getting all these wonderful, cool, and original crossover what if scenarios, man. Maybe we'll get like a brand new spin-off series of He-Man, Son of Smallville, and
No, man. What we need is a He-Man Lionel book where they're buddy cops.
Yeah.
But no, we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. The worst part is you, of course, had the major showdown between the two forces, and of course, all of He-Man and Lionel's friends show up with no explanation of how they're better now. And
I was going to say the same thing. How is everybody better in that?
and Mumra Skeletor, of course, they summon their forces, which, of course, there's no explanation for how their forces are in top shape either. But here's the kicker, and Tyler's going to understand this. They brought in Ratilla the Terrible in this major fight. And it's not Rataro, it's Ratilla. Wielding the Sword of Plundar. You know who takes him out? Ram Man.
Oh, wait, and one other thing. Who were the two bow and arrow girls? Willa, or what were their names?
Willa and Nada.
Yeah, weren't they in there too?
Yes, they're warrior maidens. Matter of fact, Nada, I believe, takes out, let's see here. The entire fight scene's a mess, so it's going to take me a moment to hunt this all down and try to get it to make sense. Doggone it, I can't even find the scene. I think she takes... she does. You don't even see who she's taking down. You see her in the background firing an arrow.
Well, trust me, it's not even worth it.
Dude, Snarf beats Panther.
what?
You heard me. I didn't stutter.
Yeah, he didn't. Didn't he kick him in the nuts, or what does he even do?
In the butt. Just punch him in the butt.
It's so... Tyler, you're just lucky you didn't read this. It was such nonsense. But then, yeah, they figure, okay, let's combine our powers together to do something great. And then you have He-Man say, by the power of Grayskull. And then Lionel says, Sword of Omens. And I think
power beyond power.
Yeah, we have the power beyond power to blast and hit Mumator or Skelara, as I thought they even referred to him once as Skelara.
Yeah, they did to try to be quote-unquote funny because they think that's funny.
Exactly, and it blasts them, and you see them in faded form separating. And as that happens, and of course, I think He-Man turned back to Adam.
Yep.
And then Lionel's thinking maybe he would want to go back and try to use the multiverse to go back and save his dad or make things different. But of course, He-Man convinces him, no, you don't want to change your destiny. Then they have this nonsense at the end. They're all happy and celebrating, and they're all sharing stuff. Like, Man-at-Arms and Panther are sharing gadgets and weapons with each other. And then, Wily Kit and Wily Cat give Orko one of the boards. And I don't know how the hell Battle Cat...
What's Orko going to do with one of their boards?
Do something to piss off Man-at-Arms.
Exactly. You get the silliness of Snarf and Battle Cat exchanging snacks because Snarf is giving him Snarf snackies, and I guess Battle Cat or Cringer made Cringer cookies and wrapped them up in a nice little... I mean, what the hell are we talking about?
I don't know, but the idea of Cringer in a kitchen horrifies me.
So it's all the nonsense to basically them say yes, goodbye, have their little final moment, and the page saying ThunderCats Ho is being said by, the heroic warriors, and then of course the ThunderCats as they are leaving say by the power of Grayskull, and then I think the last great panel, which I was happy, I was like, well, hey, we're finally at the end. It says the end, and it has a question mark. I wanted this to so badly say the end, have exclamation points, have balloons, party confetti, everything. Like, celebrate this garbage is over. Don't put a question mark even hinting that you're going to continue or people want this, because they don't.
And all this is also after Lion-O tells He-Man that he's only 12 years old.
Oh yeah, that whole thing too. And Mumra was the one that was narrating this whole story because Mumra's still obviously alive. Mumra's alive. They wanted to.
Yeah, sure, Mum-Ra's alive. That's kind of a given, but what about Skeletor? Is he dead now? Did he die?
I don't know, you'd assume, but yeah, he was the one. Mumra was doing the narration.
I hope he did. The reason why I hope he did is so he can spare himself any other continuation of this book.
It was a hot mess. I was so happy it was over. I'm so glad.
This isn't even a hot mess. This is cold diarrhea in a Dixie cup.
That's pretty sick. But yeah, this was bad. I wanted to, I had such high hopes for this series when it was first being announced. And sure, I knew I was probably going to be disappointed. I tried to be optimistic in issue 1, slightly issue 2, a crumb of 3, but when I got to 4, I was like, it's just over. It didn't get any better. And what a shame that both of these properties didn't get, what they deserve. They really deserve so much more. And it's not, again, when people say you guys are holding on to the 80s, no, you can still write a really good story. It's just the story was terrible. It was a terrible run, and what a shame, because like I said, we could have had something great. It would have been nice to have, the ThunderCats fans and Masters fans have something that they would love to go get every month at the comic shop and hope it would continue. But from the majority of people I see, almost everybody, even the ones that were positive, even more positive than I tried to be in issue 1 and kind of 2, there were some people that were loving this. And then when it hit 5, they said, Joe, yeah, you're right, I'm out. And they said, this really was bad. It's like, oh, it took 5 issues for it to kick in. So some people started seeing the light. And for those who liked it, sure, love it. But I couldn't stand this whole entire run.
In fairness, I never thought it'd be good because the last crossover ThunderCats did was Superman, and that sucked. So I didn't expect anything good from this book. And doggone it, I hate being right sometimes.
Don't you? And I know Tyler, from the beginning, he said, Joe, this is not going to be good. He knew it from the beginning. He said it. And yes, you and Tyler were both right. Me, I tried to be all optimistic, but that went away.
It's a big bucket of suck.
Yeah, that's a shame. And plus, like I said, look at every month how the sales just continue to drop. And that's not because people don't have the money to buy it. It's because they lost the desire to want to read it.
Well, of course, there's only so many times you can get kicked in the testicles before you had enough. Me, my limit's 1. But...
I got kicked 1.5 times. Well, because issue 2, I was trying to be cool with issue 2. Issue 1, I was, but 2 kind of. So yeah, I almost got kicked twice in the nuts.
So, you have any thoughts on this closing topic, Mr. Tyler?
That I'm ready to throw myself on some rusty farm equipment and just end it all right now.
Well, if you're going to end yourself out of sheer anger, I have some recommendations I've been considering myself. My idea is, via wood chipper feet first. That's my idea.
I'd say head first.
Now, I say feet first. That way I can give everybody the stink face on my way down, letting them know very well, this isn't because I'm depressed or I'm sad. It's because I'm angry, I hate everything, and you guys don't deserve to have me around anymore.
Yeah, I think Tyler would be – Tyler would just –
town.
Exactly. Tyler, I think we just go head first just so we can end it very quickly, but also so people could see his ass basically.
The quicker my ears get out of the way of people who were just so desperate to defend this book because they have ulterior motives or they believe that they're supporting the benefit of a particular website, or some other delusion that you have that all 6 issues were great. This was well worth it. Then I'm like, no, you know nothing of He-Man, you know nothing of ThunderCats. You sure as hell know nothing of what makes a good crossover.
You would nothing, sir. Good day.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka.
I get so mad when Joe comes and tells me, yeah, there was these jerk-offs that were defending the book. Well, Joe doesn't call them that. Joe's real nice about it. In my mind, I'm like, they're jerk-offs.
I'm not. I'm not nice about it at all.
Joe's not, but he'll come across as some moron who's just arguing to be arguing. Never has a logical reason as to why, and nobody has a logical reason to defend this series. And really,
Tyler. Honestly, it's like I said when 5 came, and especially 6. I have been on almost every Masters group I went and the ThunderCat ones. I haven't seen anybody this time really defend it. I think, like I said, most of them are out. They're just out. They said, forget it. They knew it was junk, and when they still would buy it, they knew it wasn't anything of any value. And that's the other thing is, I'm not supporting something if if it's garbage. Because some people, like you said, people say, we got to support it, otherwise they'll stop making the comics. No, I'm not supporting crap so they can keep giving us crap. You speak up, let your voice be heard. And if everybody is basically saying this is garbage, then maybe that'll send up, like, hey, a light bulb went off. Like, maybe if we brought, this back or tried it again, we should get new writers, because don't have the same people who've been write new He-Man comics or new ThunderCat comics. It's somebody that has some kind of knowledge. Make it fun. Make it, like I said, an interesting story.
I mean, I sent DC a message on Facebook asking them if they've ever tried a ThunderCats comic that doesn't suck, and I never got a response. So,
well, this is bad. It's unfortunate, but yeah, this is in a way, it's good. This is over now, because now I can get back to at least trying to get back into watching the episodes of the cartoon.
Yeah, no, future episodes of this podcast can be about good.
Yeah, and I can refresh my memory. Yeah, I need to, like I said, refresh my memory. I haven't watched all those episodes since I was a kid. Then we could cover the fun comics that they had back then in the 80s or anything else, something interesting. But thank God we don't have to discuss this comic no more.
Absolutely. The worst is behind us. And on that note, do you guys have any recommendations for episodes to watch this time?
I know Tyler does. Hit it.
Together We Stand from season 2.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's the only episode that features outside the ThunderCats Ho movie, the only episode that features the Berserkers from the toy line, and they're kind of one episode, but it's a good one, and it's good because Mom Ra decides to give them the power of Thundranium, armor fashioned from Thundranium. They go after Pumira and Bengali and Linkso, and it's just it's a great episode because I love the Berserkers. I loved them when they got used in ThunderCats Ho. It was great to see them in another episode and given a very solid role as the villains of that episode. So it was very, very good. I love the Berserkers. I wish we got to see more of them, but it's a very, very good episode. If you have season 2 or when you go to iTunes and purchase it, Together We Stand, it's a solid episode. Very, very good.
It's also on Amazon Prime for all 2 of you who might actually have that. But I personally recommend Dangerous Laughter. Doggone it. I had it a second ago and now it's gone. The Doom Gaze.
Oh, yes.
That's what I'm recommending because it's just a fun episode.
I got to catch them all. I got to get refreshed. Definitely on season 2. I have, like I said, season 1 I'm going through, but yeah, I got to get back in my head. It's weird, like I said, because once you start watching, it's like you start having flashes back to what you remembered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want to go ahead and say that every month I go and I host at a hobby town, which is a sort of model hobby shop, a meetup for those of us who build the Gundam models. And there's a guy there who, unfortunately, his name escapes me right now, who says that he listens to the podcast, and thanks to Tyler now, sometimes he'll go driving down the road and just stop and go, Jagger.
That's pretty cool.
So you have influence outside of your normal sphere, Tyler.
Well, I'm certainly glad to know that because it's fun just to talk like grown. Yeah, I mean, for people to go to the grocery store, you go to the bank. Sir, you have 1,500 in your checking account.
Man, that would be nice.
just some reason to laugh like grown or yeah.
See, exactly.
I guess just talk like you don't have to have a reason to do it. Just do it.
Do it because you want to.
Just do it because you want to do it because it's the Ghost Warrior, man.
Now, I will say that I think we should cover another comic next month, or actually whenever we want to now, since we don't have to do it, monthly or bi-weekly. We can do this whenever, but I'd still like to do it fairly consistent.
I'd love for Joe if he could ever track them down, and I guess I don't know what would be the easiest way outside of having to buy them individually would be the one-shots.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was going to recommend is one-shots.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because, we've always talked, that the He-Man comics really ought to just be one-shots. And that first 5 or 6 issues were all one-shots. And I'm like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be.
I can eBay them. I'll eBay those things.
Yeah.
You actually don't need to. Because I own physical copies of all the ThunderCat comics with the exception of the UK versions, which I still need to get at some point, but that'll have to wait for other things. I actually also have digital copies that I have to finish uploading to that cloud account that I've been letting you use to watch the episodes on, where you could read the entire original Star comics and you can read the entire Wildstorm run.
I'd like to do that.
So Tyler, any specific one shots you want us to cover for next time?
I mean, you got the first one with the Shadow Master. You've got the one with Groon. You've got the one with the mutants. You've got oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank here.
You've got
the
Mum-Ra.
cover. Yes.
Mum-Ra kidnapping them and then Lion-O going off into the book.
The return. Which was I thought it was a great little mini series. I think Joe would definitely appreciate that. That's a mini series I think would be a lot of fun to cover. I didn't care for Dogs of War. I didn't think that was very good
because it wasn't. No,
and I only got I can't remember why I never finished it, but I only got like the first 1 or 2 issues of Hammerhand's Revenge.
The art on that book was terrible.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on to keep my interest in that. But at that point when that book was coming out, like with anything else, I'm like, you know what? If I don't like it, I'm not going to buy it. And I quit buying that and G.I. Joe and Transformers.
So I was thinking that we could start off with the 2-part book, Heroes and Villains, the origin source books.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah, I have those too. I got to try and find this, dig them out of my my box that I've got all my ThunderCat books in storage. But yeah, I remember getting those.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good way to start off talking about the Wildstorm comics, and of course I'll upload them for Joe to peek around about.
I appreciate it. Okay.
So I can do an episode review with you guys too, like just discuss like a season 1 episode, since I know Joe definitely has access to season 1.
Oh, absolutely, he has access to everything.
Yeah, but I guess since Joe's like pretty well versed in at least season 1 or parts. I don't know how much he's watched, but it'd be fun to pick like a good season 1 episode to do like a commentary on. To just kind of.
I recommend we start with the first one then.
Exodus?
Absolutely.
All right, Exodus it is then.
Sounds good.
All right, so next up, we're going to be talking about the first episode, Exodus. We're going to be talking about the 2-part origin books of Heroes and Villains and Heroes. And my personal recommendation for the character retrospective that we do next time is let's cover a character that's not given my spotlight. Let's talk about Pumaira.
Okay.
Oh, my favorite female.
Bingo. But we're going to go ahead and say goodbye for now so people can get on with their day. And so little Joe here can have his sweet dreams of Freddy Krueger and Jason. All right. So go ahead and let's go ahead and see ourselves out. It's been fun having you guys around. Joe, go ahead and say your goodbyes.
Have a powerful day.
How about you, T-Rex?
I got nothing to say. I'm quoting George Costanza when I say that.
All right. Well, the thing I'm going to say is don't buy terrible comic books. Don't suffer like we have. And let everybody know.
You want more good things to watch. You want quality things. Contact me. Contact Joe. Contact Thomas. Contact us on Facebook. We will keep you from wasting your time. If you're someone who stumbles upon this on YouTube at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're like, ThunderCast, what is this? And you're like, that's pretty cool. I would like to get back into it. Do not waste your time and let us point you in the right direction from He-Man and ThunderCats and all these great mythologies and cartoons and stuff like that. Just bypass the crap. Just come to us. We want to help. We want to keep this stuff alive.
We would like to keep you and prosper you. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and sign off now. We'll catch up with you guys whenever. Everybody take it easy.